In the headlines, the country's private sector collaborates with the UN program to build climate resilience. Small businesses to benefit from World Bank grant funding, and Domlek describes it as a costly undertaking to run cables underground. I am Kenny Williams with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details right after this.
Do you need more cash for that home improvement? Then come to Fast Cash, where we give you more. At Fast Cash, our customers get more funds and more time to repay. But wait, can't come to us? We'll come to you, and our mobile officer will get you on your way. Small businesses, consumers, and taxi owners, Fast Cash has more for everyone. Simply call or visit any of our locations for more. Smarter, faster, better. Fast Cash. Terms and conditions apply.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Thanks for staying with us. First up, the United Nations Office of Disaster Risk Reduction will guide the country's private sector in building their defense against the risk of disasters.
The UNISDR has a mission to create risk-resilient societies by stimulating private-public sector partnerships to achieve that goal. The Deputy Chief of the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction for the Americas, Noel Arenas, is visiting the island to meet with the Dominica Association of Industry and Commerce on that front.
The UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction is the custodian of the Sendai Framework, a global agreement and effort to reduce the risk of disasters around the world, with very clear guidelines and recommendations of how countries and partners and societies can reduce the risk of disasters. We work with different countries on the efforts, and in this particular event where we are today, we are accompanying the efforts of the business community to integrate disaster risk reduction into their management practices.
The UN Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction outlines 7 clear targets and 4 priorities for action to prevent new and reduce existing disaster risks.
Our effort is to support partners who want to engage. We provide a platform of tools. We provide a space to engage with others elsewhere in the region, around the world, access to the best practices. It is no useful to have all the practices in theory in your management toolbox if half of your personnel cannot show up to work because they are affected. So that's the role that we see businesses playing, and of course supporting governments in the state efforts to build that better, to prevent losses and to reduce the risk of disasters.
Arena says there is no funding mechanism for direct financing to help the private sector build climate resilience under this program.
We do not have a fund for businesses. And so what we promote is the learning part of that. So we create those spaces for learning. We provide the tools, we provide advice, but we do not fund those efforts. We are there to support them with technical advice, but really it's to promote their own engagement and their own appropriation and ownership of this mandate.
In other news, the business community has been assured that government will further support recovery efforts with the provision of grant funding through the World Bank. The word came from the Minister for Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development, Rosalind Paul, when she attended the first ever DAIC Business Recovery Expo on Wednesday. She says the World Bank funds will specifically benefit the small business sector.
We recognize that the loss to you is significant. We saw what the data represented on the slide a few minutes ago. And it is really, really significant, particularly in a small economy like Dominica. Even though more than ever, post-Hurricane Maria, we have to ensure that we can support the private sector. Already, the government of Dominica has put some support systems in place for the MSMEs. We are working on grant support through funds provided through the World Bank that small businesses will benefit from shortly.
The Commerce Minister did not say how much funds would be made available. She says she is looking forward to the recommendations coming out of the discussions at the DAIC activity.
I would expect an outcome from this. You would have enough information, recommendations that you would share with us. And we, as we seek to strengthen public-private sector partnership and seek to build a more resilient Dominica, we will continue to provide that support and we will continue to collaborate.
Telecommunications company Flow was among the sponsors of the forum. In more top stories, OECS governments are being challenged to step up the pace of implementing the Juvenile Justice Reform Project.
The JJRP seeks to strengthen juvenile justice systems to promote the rehabilitation and reintegration of youth in conflict with the law back into society. During a recent visit to Dominica, coordinator of the Juvenile Justice Reform Project, Lyndall Archibald, said the implementation of the program should be further along. However, there are numerous challenges throughout the OECS countries impeding its progress.
Priorities of the project that are supposed to be priorities of the various governments, and with implementation we have that things don't happen as quickly as you would like them to be. We have activities in our work plans that we expect support, and then when the time comes to implement, it's just not the right timing for it. You have persons who've been trained who leave positions, so you invested in them and they're no longer there, so you now have to go back and retrain persons. Those are some of the challenges, and those are real challenges that we face on the ground. The donor makes funds available for us to do certain things, and because we are the countries that we are, we don't have an excessive amount of funds. The country may still require continued support, and we have to find a way to make sure that they can sustain the activities that have been started.
Currently, the project is in Phase 2, which deals with rehabilitation, diversion, and reintegration. Phase 1 ended in July 2016, and the second phase is projected to be completed by September 2020.
We've had a challenge with an approval of our work plan, and so in some regard that has affected the speed of implementation. But we've had interim work plans which we should have been able to complete, but we've had some delays. In 2018 we would have hoped that we would have had a full slate of diversion programs available for our young people that come in contact with the law. We would have expected that our assessment tools that we introduced in Phase 1, which is a risk assessment and a mental health screening tool, which would help us determine the level of risk and whether or not a child is being troublesome or a child has more serious issues than just that. We would have hoped that our member states would have been using those tools, which would guide their work in determining how we go about developing a treatment plan for those young persons. Without an effective treatment plan, then we're facing a situation where they may come back into the system because they've not been rehabilitated.
The 6 independent OECS countries which are implementing the JJRP are St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Grenada. Archibald says each of these countries is at a different level of implementation.
There are 3 of them that already have their legislation passed, and there are 3 that haven't. And of the 3 that haven't, 2 of them have gotten their bills drafted, but these have not gone through the system. But there are others that have secure facilities, and there are others that don't. So in different areas, there are pros and cons for each member state in terms of what they can do and how much they've accomplished. I think the real goal for us is to make sure that everybody has key things in place that could support how we treat our young people who find themselves in conflict with the law, and that's to ensure that they're rehabilitated and they do not find themselves back into the system.
The Juvenile Justice Reform Project is being funded by USAID. Reporting for Channel 5 News, I'm Andrea Louis.
You are watching the Channel 5 News. When we come back, Domlec weighs in on the feasibility of running its lines underground.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
There are signs everywhere. Pay attention whether you're male or female. Visit your health center to get screened. It's a preliminary test to determine if you are exposed to the HIV virus, an STI, or tuberculosis. Some people who are HIV positive also have tuberculosis. But there's hope. Tuberculosis can be cured. And yes, you can live a full life with HIV. Talk to your doctor. Be responsible. Help stop the spread of TB, HIV. Encourage everyone to get tested.
Welcome back. While government is proposing for Domlec to consider setting up its electrical distribution power systems underground, Domlec's manager says this is a good idea, but too costly a venture. Prime Minister Skerrit said Domlec and the telecommunications companies have been fighting his government for a long time on the proposal to run the cables underground.
Even with the Roseau Enhancement Project, the designs made provisions for the undergrounding of the electrical lines and all of the cable lines. But Domlec and the telecommunication providers were fighting us. That's why we hadn't started the project. But thank God now the hurricane has encouraged them or pushed them a little bit. And so now everybody is fully on board, and we're grateful for this.
Mr. Skerrit said plans are underway to start a feasibility study funded by the World Bank on that matter.
And with some funds from the European Union, we will be starting very soon the feasibility studies for the undergrounding of the electrical lines on the entire west coast of Dominica, from really all the way from Scottsted to Capuchin, so that in the future we do not have the situation of many of us still without electricity months after a hurricane.
Domlec's generation manager Dave Stamp said the electricity company cannot do it alone.
The constraint to that is that the underground systems are significantly more expensive than overhead systems. So it requires special collaboration, special initiatives, and the access to concessionary financing in order to do that. So it's not a matter of simply start putting the overhead lines underground.
Stamp said among the considerations is avoiding passing on the cost to consumers.
It would be a significant cost, and a cost that we do not want our customers to bear through our tariff structure. So that is the important consideration. We can't just simply put underground systems and then put the costs onto our customers. But it requires collaboration with other stakeholders, especially other utilities and government. A perfect opportunity is the Roseau Enhancement Project that the Honorable Prime Minister spoke of.
We continue with this item where Thunderbird's Carnival Band has copped the Most Creative Costume Band Award for Mass Dominic 2018.
The announcement was made on Wednesday during a ceremony to recognize the winners of the various categories for this year's carnival. Due to a scaled-down carnival budget, only one award was given for costume bands this year. Thunderbird's costume band took to the streets under the theme Wicked Maria, and manager of the band, Caesar Emmanuel, said their representation of reality gave them the edge over the other costume bands.
Well, we always give thanks to God for anything we receive when it comes to acknowledgement for Carnival. As you know, we are blessed with the creativity, so always try our best, even in the most extreme situations like what we went through with Hurricane Maria. And we came out with new costumes, so it feels good, really.
So what do you think gave you the edge over the other costume bands?
As usual, Thunderbird normally represents reality. We are not a band that deals with fantasy. So I think what gave us the edge is we looked at Maria, we looked at certain aspects of the storm, and we duplicated that in reality. There was no other band who really came out with that kind of perspective on the effects of the storm and turning it into a creative activity.
All right, and seeing that you got this award for Mass Dominic 2018, does that give you any sort of extra push or incentive to come next year of a big and better, more creative band?
Not really, we're always ready, We're one of the few bands that were ready for Carnival in 2018. Even if there is no electricity and we make all our costumes in Dominica. So we're always ready. It doesn't give us an extra push. As a matter of fact, right now we're ready. If Carnival is in September 2018 for 2019, we would be ready. We're ready.
The other awards were distributed as follows. Most Creative Juve Group, Chupul. Largest Lapo Cabwit, Police Lapo Cabwit. Longest Lapo Cabwit, Newtown Lapo Cabwit. Largest Juve Group, Lumination by Signal Band. Most Creative Individual Male, Dorian Carbon. Most Creative Individual Female, Yvette Banis. Most Creative Traditional Group, Bacchanal Women. Most Creative T-shirt Band, Cluebird. And Most Creative School Band, Granford Primary. Certificates of appreciation went to Lucia Lander Dance Group, Pioneer Prep, and Castleborough Secondary School. This year, due to the slashed budget, no monetary prizes were distributed. However, 2 corporate citizens came on board to sponsor the trophies and plaques for this year's winners.
Meantime, chairman of the Dominica Festivals Committee, Gerald Kuz-Latig, says the early end time enhanced Carnival celebrations. As a result of the current electricity situation in Dominica, the decision was taken to host Carnival from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Carnival Monday and 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Carnival Tuesday. Kuz-Latig says the early end of Carnival brought more people to the streets for the Carnival jump-up.
What good thing came out of it, if you notice, from 2 to 6, the streets were packed. Normally, if you have it ending at 10 o'clock, between that time, if there's a big lull and so on. So that made a difference. But that will be discussed, and we'll move from there. Well, personally, I like it.
When asked what features of this year's celebration DFC would like to incorporate into future celebrations, Kuz-Latig said that an upcoming meeting with various stakeholders would help to shed light on any proposed changes for future celebrations. Mass Dominic 2018 was held under the theme, Celebrating Our Traditions. That's news. Your sports highlights next. First up, West Indies A team went on to defeat England Lions by an innings and 17 runs in the second unofficial test in Jamaica on Tuesday. Batting first, England scored 145 all out in 57 overs. Their only batsman of note in that innings was Joe Clark's 56. Jomel Warrican was Lions' worst nightmare when he snatched a whopping 8 wickets for 34 runs. In reply, West Indies posted a hard-fought 422 in 110.4 overs. Jamar Hamilton added 100 to help lift the score, while Raymond Reef were closely supported with 95. Kieran Powell contributed a timely 59. Jack Leach picked up 6 wickets for 138 runs for Lions. Batting a second time, England was bowled out for 206 runs in 100.2 overs. Their highest scoring batsman was Liam Livington's 48. Jomel Warrican and Rakeem Cornwall teamed up for a lethal combination, each taking 4 wickets. With this win, West Indies A led the 3-match series 2-0. Meantime, Cricket West Indies has appointed former South African fast bowler Alfonso Thomas as the bowling coach of the new senior men's team. The board made a number of changes to the coaching and support staff for the current squads to improve their chances at the World Cup qualifiers and the Women's World T20 scheduled for later this year. Former West Indies leg spinner Roy Lewis, who previously worked with the side as team operations manager during the successful World T20 campaign in 2016, was named the team manager. Moving on to international cricket, we can tell you that South Africa found renewed vigour to defeat India by 6 wickets in the second T20 on Wednesday. India took first knock and scored 188 for the loss of 4 wickets. The opening batsmen fell for low totals, with Shikhar Dhawan falling for 24 and Rohit Sharma for duck. India's M. Pandey added 79 not out and MS Dhoni 52 not out, but those figures were not enough to secure the win. In a stunning fight back, South Africa seemed eager for the win to finish on 189 for the loss of 4 wickets in 18.4 overs. H. Klassen scored 69 and J. Dumney 64. With this win, the series is now level 1-1. On the local cricket scene, there were wins for Goodwill, Portsmouth and Isaiah Thomas Secondary Schools in action from the Massey United Insurance Under-20 Cricket League on Tuesday. Beginning with PSS versus Northeast Comprehensive, where batting first, PSS scored 114 in 21 overs. Leon Sejean added 37, Jed Joseph 27 and Sherman Felicite 23. Ashton Ogis took 4 for 11 in 4 overs and Rashad Francois 3 for 23 in 4 overs. In reply, NECS scored 81 all out in 16.3 overs. Neo Davis was the only batsman of note with 22. Leon Sejean picked up 4 for 21, Jed Joseph 4 for 27 and Kenny Jean 2 for 12. In the second innings, PSS declared on 89 for 6. Clemenson LeBlanc contributed 24 and Jed Joseph 21. Morel Burton snatched 2 for 27. Set 123 for victory, NECS was bowled out for 62 in 17 overs. Tariq Benoit got 11. Leon Sejean took 4 wickets for 6 runs. Kenny Jean took 3 wickets for 16 runs and Jed Joseph 2 for 18. The final scores from that encounter: PSS 114 and 89 for 6 declared, NECS 81 and 62. Meantime, ITSS got first innings points in their match against the Dominica State College. Batting first, ITSS scored 36 all out. Neil Payne took 5 for 13 for DSC, with Taj Tavernier taking 2 for 5 and Dion Burton 2 for 3. In reply, State College was bowled out for 33 runs. Micah Joseph took 4 for 6 and Abe Durant 3 for 20 for ITSS. Batting a second time, ITSS scored 110 all out. Jeremiah Joseph scored 41 and Micah Joseph 22. Dion Burton took 6 for 42 for DSC. Set 114 to win, DSC only made 88 for 2 by the end of play. Finally, Goodwill Secondary secured first innings points against St. Mary's Academy. First at the crease, GSS scored 109. Jovan Raphael added 43 to his team's total. Brice John Lewis picked up 4 for 24 and Ajanim Tavernier 3 for 18. In reply, St. Mary's Academy was bowled out for 54. Delani Alexander took 5 for 14 and Malachi Xavier 5 for 27. And the Dominica Amateur Athletics Association will have to formalize itself in order to strengthen its hand at raising the profile of local athletes. So says the association's president, Gordwin Dorset, while he presented the 2016-2017 report at a recent annual general meeting. The re-elected head of DAAA noted athlete registration and registering the association as a company will be top on the agenda moving forward.
2016-2017 athletic season was a very challenging one. Nevertheless, we were able to complete more than 80% of our planned activities. Dominica athletes must be registered and gain their own registration number with the International Federation. This is something that has been eluding us. We need to have a full registered athlete, slate of athletes. That we must do in the coming years. Well, I should not say years, but year. The registration of DAAA, but here I said DAA, as a company with the government of Dominica. year that DAAA should be no longer existing, we are to seek to further strengthen our position by getting the association to become a company under the Registration Act of Dominica, where we can go out and do the work to raise funds and make athletics a more self-sustainable activity in Dominica.
Meantime, Godwin Dorset was re-elected as president, Kevin James was elected vice president, Philip White, secretary, Natasha Xavier, treasurer, Smith Telemac, public relations officer, Charles Joseph, assistant secretary, club representative Cedric Harris, male rep Brandon Williams, female representative Melissa Alfred, and schools reps Juliana Benjamin. That's all the sports for now. Join us next time. To end the news, the headlines again. The country's private sector collaborates with the UN program to build climate resilience. Small businesses to benefit from World Bank grant funding, and DOMLEC describes it as a costly venture to run cables underground. Feel free to contact us at news@mapping2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Kenny Williams. To our viewers around the world, thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.